Welcome to episode 62 of the podcast. September is here, and you know what that means. It's National Preparedness Month. Every day, unexpected events can throw our lives off track, from power outages and downed trees to severe storms and disasters. In this episode, we're talking about how to be ready at home, on the road, and even when you're traveling. It's not just about gear, it's about communication, planning, and that peace of mind. Stay tuned because by the end of this episode, you'll have practical tips to stay safe, stay connected, and stay prepared, no matter what life throws your way. Welcome back to the Ham Radio Guy podcast, broadcasting from the W0MET studios. I'm Marvin, and my call sign is W0MET, and I'm glad you're here as we get ready for even more amateur radio adventures. Whether you're tuning in for the first time or a long-time listener, thank you. I appreciate you being here and hope you become a subscriber of the podcast. Now, I know the podcast has not had an episode for a month or so I want to give you a quick update and talk about a few things as we go forward here as well. Again, first of all, I know it's been a little while since we've had the last episode. Things have been really busy on my end. Right after the August 11th POTA expedition that I did, where I went and activated 4 islands in Connecticut on the Connecticut River, I left later that week to head over to Wisconsin and work remotely here from my remote site, which is where I'm at now. And I was preparing for our anniversary party. And, that meant a lot of time working on the interior of the building, doing sheetrock and metal cutting, things like that. I put a metal 4-foot wainscoting up first and then put some sheetrock above that on one of our interior walls and insulated that to our office and studio here, future ham shack. And so that helps with, some of the summer heat that was coming in from the outdoors. And it'll also help keep our heat in during the winter, obviously being a little more insulated. So that wall will make a huge difference to hopefully the bill here as well. At the same time, I've been focusing on an antenna tower project. I know I've mentioned that a lot. Ordering parts, staging equipment, getting things lined up for the build. And we did start that project this last let's see, today is Sunday, so it was, probably Wednesday, Thursday. I guess it was Thursday this week we did it. And we were able to get up about 40 feet of it. And our day just ran long. We were running behind. It took a while to get the various tower sections. Mostly the top section. We are configuring it all as one with the rotor, the top plate, the thrust bearing, the mast. All that is going to go up all as one big piece. So all that had to get assembled first. And of course, we have to also get the antenna guy wire bracket on there as well at the same time. So there's a lot going on to that top section. And that took a long time to configure, unfortunately. Longer than I think we would have liked, but it is what it is. I did do a short YouTube release on the first 30 feet in 23 seconds. It's a YouTube short, so go watch that if you have not to see the antenna build. I was really hoping to have a little bit more of a zoomed in video of that. However, the fact that it's going so tall, it was really tough to be any closer than I was. And so hopefully you'll be able to see that and enjoy it. I've not been able to watch it on a big screen like a computer monitor myself. I've only seen it on my phone. I haven't even watched it on my iPad to see how good it is or bad it is for that, matter of fact. But the project is going along really well. We got the first 30 feet up with guy wires. I'm using the mass strength rope, and I'm impressed with it. The turnbuckle stuff with the anchor post, a little more interesting there in trying to get some of that configured. The anchor post, the hole is set back a little bit farther to be able to mount to connect that to. And so it's back about 1 1/8 inch, and trying to find a turnbuckle or something that's that deep was a little more challenging. Even, a couple of the other connectors was tough to get in there, like a chain link connector that you can screw threads on one side. It just wasn't quite, it was too deep and wasn't quite big enough to be able to get in there. So I made something work, and I think it's certainly viable, and I think it's going to be good. It'll hold up well. There's a lot of tension on those guide wire ropes now from Mass Strength, and the guy that's helped me put this up is doing a great job with the ropes and be able to put tension on them and how to really. He has a rope clamp that kind of helps hold that in place, and it was really interesting to have that available as a tool. Something I would not have, especially like a gin pole as well. Carrying up each section with a gin pole with a rope. He's got a winch. This process has been. I'll get more video probably this next week. We got to come back. Unfortunately, our Friday become too windy, and so we're gonna have to delay this about a week and maybe a couple days. So it will be middle of September now before he's able to come back due to other conflicts going on. So. It is coming, and I've got the 3-element Yagi, which is prepared and ready to go as well. I've just got a few minor things I need to put on the mounting plate to wrap that up, but we should be looking pretty good with that. So I will put that out in the yard as soon as I get that mowed in the next couple days, and we will put that all together so that's ready to lift up when time comes, and that will be put on as a separate item from the top section once we get the antenna top section up, the antenna or the top section of the tower up. We'll put the antenna up after that. So it's all coming together, and I'm looking forward to it. I've got, I don't know how much in parts coming. I've ordered probably, I think it's a 152-foot run from the shed down to the tower site. So I've had to order some cable, and this would probably be a good moment to say ABR Industries has got all my cable from ABR Industries, and I will be also putting a future camera on that tower. So I'll be pulling not only some rotor cable and some ABR 400 and ABR 240, LMR 240 through there. I've got some Ethernet cable, which I'll be pulling through along with all those other cables in my 3-inch electrical conduit pipe that is going from the shed down to the tower site. So I've got these 3-inch bulkheads. I think it almost been cheaper for me to run 2-inch sections of pipe instead of running one big 3-inch section. One is because I could keep my LMR, my Heliax cable separate from all the other cables because it's very sensitive. You can't step on it or anything like that. It can get damaged. You don't want to bend it. But then, I've got all these other cables coming through too. And I think that would have almost been easier to have 2 sections of pipe to go through. The bulkheads for those 3-inch pipes for the service entrance panels or service entrance, I guess it's a thing that goes on top of the pipe before it goes into service entrance into your house. And it kind of keeps the drip loop and your cable from, getting water down inside it. Those things were huge, and they weren't cheap either. They were like $80 a piece. So it added up really quickly. So this project has been very expensive endeavor, but it's going good, and I'm very pleased with it. I'm very happy with where it's at, and I'll have the repeater on there, and I will show more photos and video when we're all done here, but I'm certainly looking forward to it. So that's all about the tower site. That's what's been going on. So while the podcast has been very quiet, I've still been, I haven't been sitting still. Most of my work has been behind the scenes in amateur radio world, and dealing with, I've done a few FT8 contacts. That's about most I've done, but it's, we're getting there. And then, trying to get some videos edited as well. I'm in the middle of 2 of them right now. So my apologies for those delays as well. It's just been real tough. I haven't even done any news anchoring for This Week in Amateur Radio lately because I've just had so much other stuff going on. So spend time with family, which is always good. And fall is one of my favorite times of year, and I love being outside and doing a bunch of stuff. So I think that's part of it too. And being here at my property in Wisconsin, it's been a lot of work. When I came here, I think my grass was somewhere between 12 and 18 inches tall, and I had to mow that several times. I had to rake it with my tractor rake, and then I think I literally picked up about 40 buckets of grass and hauled them down to my little compost pile, in my little sections of, we'll call it more of a section of weeds, that I'm trying to turn into, not so a compost pile, but make it more of a, maybe even like a deer plot or something down the road. But at least it's trying to kill off some of those weeds by covering and smothering them with grass. Hopefully my natural version of Roundup might be working. I don't know. We'll see. We'll have to investigate that further and find out. But anyway, I'm not afraid to use Roundup either, but because thistles are just thick as weeds around here almost in some ways. So it's kind of crazy. Anyway, enough about me, enough with what's going on. Before we jump into today's episode, I want to give a big shout out to Dakota Lithium for supporting the podcast. I've been using their batteries now for the past 3 years in every environment you can imagine. And, it's freezing cold, sweltering heat, even soaking rain, and they haven't let me down. These batteries have traveled everywhere with me, from the back of my truck to carry-on flights, and they're still going strong. If you're looking for dependable, long-lasting power, check out Dakota Lithium at dakotalithium.com. Use the code TheHamRadioGuy at checkout for a discount, and you'll find a link in the show notes. Now, one thing I have to admit before I go any further with this, I still have not gotten a single power source wire from my battery or a fuse block to my radio in the new truck. So what have I been using? A Dakota Lithium battery. It is being the only battery that's being supplied to my truck right now for my 2-meter radio when I'm traveling. And, I can use it for probably 2 or 3 days, keeping it on. I didn't talk on it a lot, but I was able to, power it for quite a bit. And that's been pretty impressive to use that as my only source of battery now until I can get a time to get a power cable in there. So, nope, I haven't even had time to even get a power cable finished up on that. And that's only the last thing I got to do. Everything else is in place. So I just got to pull that power through the firewall and I'm going to be just fine. So if you haven't already, please subscribe to the show. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you like to listen. And don't forget, you can catch me on YouTube. Leave a comment, good or bad. Helps out the algorithm. Helps more people discover the show. Share it on your socials and let others know you're listening to the Ham Radio Guy podcast. You can also support the podcast by checking out the affiliate links in the show notes and over at patreon.com/the Ham Radio Guy. Your support helps keep the content coming, growing the community, and bring you even more gear reviews, tips, and ham radio inspiration. So, as I said, it's been a lot. It's been a lot going on behind the scenes, and we're going to get caught up one of these days. I promise. We're going to get there. So, with that, let's go to the newsroom. From September 16th through the 25th, 18 amateur radio clubs across New York State will take to the airwaves to celebrate the bicentennial of the Erie Canal. The coordinated effort will activate the Erie Canal National Heritage Corridor as part of the Parks in the Air program. K2EAG shared the following announcement. After 6 months of planning, our statewide activation of the Erie Canal for its 200th anniversary is finally here. The event is an incredible opportunity to experience and share the history of the canal as transformed America. Clubs and operators from across New York are coming together to activate the Erie Canal National Heritage Corridor. We're thrilled to highlight the 18 clubs participating in this celebration, just as towns across the state come alive with excitement of 200 years ago during Governor DeWitt Clinton's inaugural voyage. Well, I can't say that tonight. So, the other thing is you can go out to Ham Stuff online, and I believe they actually have a Erie Canal inaugural 200th anniversary shirt. Ham Stuff online. You can get it's a bright yellow with some blue writing of the same colors that they're using for this event. And so if you're interested in that, feel free to go over there, and I'll provide a link in the show notes to that as well. And then the next biggest thing that's come out, you've probably heard about this, and I think this is quite interesting because I'm not a big ICOM guy, but I do like ICOM equipment. Don't get me wrong. I have an ICOM 705. They unveiled the next generation of the ICOM 7300 MK2 HF transceiver. Now, I know people who are low power, off grid people are really liking this radio a lot. A lot of things to be said about that. So, and at the Japan Amateur Radio Fair, ICOM introduced the ICOM 7300 MK2, a major upgrade to its highly successful ICOM 7300, which has sold over 100,000 units. Now, some of the key upgrades in this new radio are superior RF performance with enhanced receiver metrics to include the RMDR, which I'm not real sure exactly what that is, and the reduced phase noise to deliver more clean, reliable signal reception and transmission. The other thing would be efficient cooling and power and cooling, optimized through this design. RX standby current drops from 0.90 to 0.7 amps with about a 23% reduction, improving heat management and ideal for marathon contest or DX operations. So I think people are really going to like that with the more efficient power. New features on it also includes an HDMI output for the first time in an ICOM HF radio. That's really cool to see that, so you can put that on your big screen and blow that up. I would be super excited about that, to be able to see that on the wall. A built-in CW decoder, another ICOM first. USB-C type connectivity, so that's cool to see that they're bringing USB-C to the radios with dual virtual comm channels and audio in and out ports. Allows simultaneous use of applications for like FT8 and logging software using just one cable. So very cool. Ethernet for remote control and integrated LAN supports, simplifies remote operation. No base station PC required, and you can even power the radio on and off over the internet. So a lot to be said for this radio coming out. This is very cool. RX antenna in and out. A separate receive antenna allows antenna connectors allow operators to plug in specialized RX gear like filters or preamps to optimize signal, and expanded band support. European versions will support the new allocated 5 megahertz band and 70 megahertz in addition to the standard HF and 50 megahertz bands for the US. So they are anticipating this to be out by the end of 2025. So for pricing and regional availability, especially for the US, is not available yet. But I will assume the FCC will probably get this certified fairly quickly, but you never know. It could take some time. So, again, the news story on this, in short, the ICOM 7300 builds on that legendary 7300 platform and brings a substantial performance enhancement, and features like the HDMI, USB-C, Ethernet control. That is going to be huge for a lot of people, and that radio is just going to be taken off, I think, big time overall for what it's doing. And I think that's going to be a good thing for ICOM. So that's very exciting. And I think that's all we got for news this week. Amateur radio news with a release date of September 7th, 2025. It's now time for the Ham Radio Guy Joke of the Week, where Rick tells us the joke. The Ham Radio Guy Joke of the Week is brought to you by Ham Radio Prep. Now here is Rick Garrett, N9 GSU, with today's Ham Radio Guy Joke of the Week.
My buddy KC9QHA and myself decided to take a 2-week Parks on the Air activation, and about a week in, we realized we had to stop and do laundry. When we were doing laundry and got done, he put all of his clothes in the basket. As we were walking down the stairs, he tripped and fell and spilled everything. I just stood there and watched it all unfold.
This has been the Ham Radio Guy Joke of the Week with Rick Garrett, N9 GSU. Turn in next week for another joke from Rick. HamRadioPrep.com, your fast track to getting licensed and on the air. Whether you're brand new to amateur radio or looking to upgrade your license, Ham Radio Prep makes it easy. Their online courses are FCC approved, and mobile friendly, and designed to help you pass your exam on the first try, even if you never touched a radio before. Thousands of hams are already passed with Ham Radio Prep, and I personally recommend it for anyone who wants to learn quickly and return the knowledge that actually matters out in the field. Ready to become a licensed ham or upgrade to general or extra? Go out to hamradioprep.com and use my exclusive code HAMRadioGuy at checkout to save on your course. Don't wait, get licensed, get on the air, and join the amateur radio community today with hamradioprep.com. They have a great money-back guarantee, and you can't beat it. Again, you can find the link in the show notes description, and if you have any questions, please reach out to me at W0MET at hamradioguy.com, and I'll be glad to help you out and with any affiliate discounts or anything else that you might need to save yourself some money and support the show at the same time. So thank you for being a part of that, and hopefully you'll use Ham Radio Prep. All right, well, let's start to get into the main topic here. Since September is National Preparedness Month, and today we're diving into what really it means to be prepared, not just in mindset, but with practical plans, gear, and communication strategies. I tend to think that preparedness isn't about fear. I think a lot of people may have fear around it sometimes, but it's really having that peace of mind. And this is huge. I mean, I've got a couple bags that I have prepared for myself that I've been slowly building since I started doing the podcast, or since I did the podcast last September. And I've got, well, let me come back to that in just a minute. I won't get sidetracked with that. But, it is something that I have to constantly maintain and keep up. But it is about being prepared when I can. And so it's really about my peace of mind and knowing I can have a bag ready to go. And again, we'll talk about contents and some other stuff in a little bit here. And it isn't just a one-time task. You have to worry about this. It's an everyday task you kind of have to think about in your mind as, things can happen. Whether it's a minor inconvenience, such as a road closure, or a major disaster of some sort from a flooding, a hurricane, tornado, whatever it might be. And so we're going to talk about this on a very local level, from your home all the way to state and region, maybe multi-statewide events. And so, this isn't just about when you're at home either. Again, we can be talking about, you can be ready at home all the time and have your stuff ready to go. But what if you're out and about in the community? You're out grocery shopping, you're out traveling to a movie one night, you're on the road, you're traveling between Massachusetts and Wisconsin like I do, or maybe just on vacation somewhere, and you took a plane flight. And that is the challenges that I've not gotten past yet, is when I fly, you can't carry a knife, you can't carry a gun, you can't carry, fingernail clippers, etc. That, they XA all those things from your carry-ons. And so being prepared on a plane is a little bit more tougher, and you have to give up a little bit and compromise there. And I don't like that myself personally, but it is what it is. I mean, traveling to Alaska this summer, for example, I did carry a Leatherman with me in my luggage that went under the plane. And so I at least had that with me when I was on the ship. They don't want you carrying those type things on, but I got it on nonetheless, right or wrong, good or bad. But I was able to have a multi-purpose tool with me, with a screwdriver, a knife, some pliers, whatever I needed with me. I had something of some sort. So it wasn't much with me. I didn't have a lot of other things, carried with me at that point. But I did have my ham radio with me. I had a HT with me. I had the 705. I had antennas. So I had some other plans kind of there, but not 100%. And I'll talk about that. So let's start with your home first. And you're creating a center of preparedness plan around your house, your home, your local area. And I think one of the most common things we can ask first is, what would happen if power went out for a few hours? a day or 3 days. So I will just, in fact, this is just a very relevant topic because we just had some serious storms go through my place in Massachusetts. And I know the battery backup for my network system, to include my server and the modem, the router, and network switch, the Wi-Fi, all that went down. The battery did not last past the length of time for the power outage. So I had, things go offline completely, and I had no connectivity there whatsoever, no access to it. And of course, I wasn't there to do anything about it either. I'm, 1,200 miles away. That doesn't help. But the other things, if you are there, what do you do about that? I mean, when you run out of power there, obviously Spectrum was down too because of the big storm, so that there was no internet supply to the house, even if I did have the equipment up and running. But let's talk about other equipment like, refrigerators or other things. Your non-perishable food. Do you have that available to you? Do you have bottled water available? If I'm here in Wisconsin, I depend on a well. That depends on electricity. It requires 240 volts. Do I have a way to power that well if power goes out? And I don't. I just don't have that set up at this point yet. But it is something I'm going to think about in the future when the house is built. So, do you have flashlights, spare batteries, battery-powered lanterns of some sort? I usually do have flashlights available. I try and have several of them in different locations and key locations, but I don't always have them always available where I need them, unfortunately. A battery bank to charge your phone. How big a battery bank do you need if it's for multiple days? How many times can that battery bank charge your phone? Are you using it to charge an iPad or another tablet of some sort as well? So how long will that last? A small generator for critical electronics might be considered. And, again, your first aid kit and necessary medications you might need as well to keep yourself healthy and going. So do you have those things handy? Are they set aside somewhere? Where do you find them? If you had items in the basement, that's where my backpack is that I have for emergency backup. Well, what if that basement floods for some reason? I had that happen, 5 days after moving, and things started to get wet in the floor. So, I had a half inch of water in parts of it. Not that that's a lot. It's different than 2 feet, but still, things get wet and whatnot. Is that being taken care of? So I've got electronics on the ground, like a power strip. Maybe I should have that mounted up on the wall. Thinking about those, things for critical electronics and water, emergencies, disasters. Am I prepared for that? Need to be able to happen. Now, if I put that thing 2 feet up on the wall and we get 3 feet of water, obviously the power strip is not going to do me any good, and I'm going to have issues with electronics there. Things are going to short and cause, maybe even more electrical hazard occurring. But, you try and prepare for the best you can, and think about your home, how you can access things. Even going down to the point of, now we're not talking about National Fire Month here, but the, escaping of your house. Are you prepared to do that? Have we discussed with your family how to escape the house? Maybe a tree comes down across the front door. Do you have another way out? Do you have a back door? Do you have a side door? Can you crawl out a window? Those are type of things that you have to think about and always be prepared. As a former law enforcement officer, I'm going to get dispatched to a call. And I'm thinking about on my way to that call, how I'm going to handle that call. What if this? What about this? What about that? It's a lot of what ifs sometimes, but you start to prepare yourself mentally for what if that happens and what do you do? The other thing is, we don't want to forget about communication in all of this. If the internet goes down or cell towers fail, do you have mesh devices available that are charged and ready to go? Do you have FRS or GMRS or amateur radio licenses and other family members? What about any family or neighborhood communication during, Hurricane Milton and Helene? That GMRS communication to other neighbors was very essential, and they used it a lot. Spare batteries charged and rotate them out regularly. And so, how do you keep those going? And do you put on your monthly calendar, hey, go rotate batteries? Something to think about. I don't do it myself, but I probably should. I do rotate my batteries. I say regularly, but I do rotate them. I go through and make sure they're charged up. I'll go walk by the little stand where I keep all the handhelds, and I'll pull a couple out and put a couple others back in, and I rotate them through there. So, do I do it every month, every week? No, I don't. I just kind of, when I think about it, I switch them out. And then consider some solar chargers or a small solar generator for some type of backup power, a solar panel, 40 watts, 60 watts. It may take a couple hours to charge something, but at least you have the option of it set up and ready to go. So I've got a 40, 50, 60 watt solar panels, and I've got a 200 watt solar panel on my trailer. So I've got definitely some power and ways available to do it. I do carry power in my trailer. And I've got 12 volt capability in there as well. So if something did happen, I could at least go charge something in there and keep that going. So it's always, a backup option. So that's some home things to think about. We've gone really long here on this, but I think these are important items. This is always a big topic in September. These are one of my most followed podcasts. And so I try and be very thorough on some of this and think about this stuff very much for myself as much as for you and what you can cover, because this is not something I want to be high level on. I think I need to be very detailed and in depth with this because the importance of it. Not necessarily a doomsday prepper here, but I do like to be prepared. I don't want to be caught, with my pants down or be caught off guard per se. So, I'd rather be more prepared, and I have to also prepare for my wife and think about your other family members. So when I prepare a bag, I need to really do maybe 2, 3, or 4 bags, depending how big your family is. And can they take a backpack and go? And where do they keep their backpacks? Is it all in one pile? Is it in one room, one closet? Do they each have it in their own closet? I don't know. That's up to you. Decide what you want to do and where you keep those things. Now let's zoom out to the more community level. Emergencies can often obviously affect more than just your home. Again, those power outages, downed trees, flooding, road closures can disrupt a lot of normal life as well. So a lot of local communities have the ability for you to sign up for like city or county emergency alerts if something happens, if power goes down. I know during this last storm, I get like Nextdoor will give me alerts that, hey, Spectrum's down or power is down. Excuse me. Do you know where your community shelters are or evacuation routes are? Is that something that you might be able to go find somewhere? You usually have a city or county emergency manager, and they might have some of that information as well. Your evacuation routes, if that happens, do you know what your city's plan for that is? Florida. If you're in Florida, you guys have done hurricane evacuation routes. They're opening up I-75 and making it all one direction, and getting everybody northbound and getting the heck out of Dodge before the hurricane gets there. So, do you know the quickest way to get there and make that work on an evacuation route? Because in Florida, that's going to be important for you guys. Probably people in California this past year. During the fires, they had evacuation routes. They had certain roads that are going down and had to get out of there. So, you may think, well, that doesn't really apply to my area. I live in a small rural town, somewhere in other part of the U.S., and I don't really have evacuation routes. We got one road that goes through our town, So, but other people who may listen to this podcast definitely have to worry about some of those things and have those evacuation routes that they're concerned about or have to know about. Have you joined any neighborhood groups, CERT teams for mutual aid? How well do you know your neighbors? Are you able to communicate with them, talk to them? would you share a GMRS or an FRS radio with them if you need to communicate when normal channels are down? Maybe you have a mesh device for them you can share with them if necessary. So that might be something to think about as well. Now we've got to go on to the next level. I mean, that was, maybe short and sweet compared to the, your local level of your home. But, there's only so much community preparedness you can prepare for. But those are some things that I wanted to be able to share and have you think about, some highlights that I thought were more important. Now think about your state and regional preparedness. Again, we come back and entertain it into things like tornadoes, blizzards, hurricanes, flooding. These again take out power grids, water systems, communications. You hear about boiling of water for weeks or days, at a time, and so. These last, usually longer than 72 hours, and sometimes can last even months. Ask people in North Carolina or Florida and some of those other places where they're continuing to rebuild. And so, they're living in, maybe a backpack or, very minimal at best. And how do you get a backpack big enough to be able to carry, maybe a small tent, emergency blanket, a weather radio? Not everybody needs a weather radio, but if you have a family of 2, 3, 4, someone's got to carry at least one. If you have the radios, are they in your backpack or do you keep them on a shelf? Does someone have to remember them to go after them? If they're in your basement on a shelf and that's where you keep them and you can't access your basement, what do? So, have you thought about that? That might be something to think about. That might be something I need to think about, in fact, because that's my situation. If I can't get to my basement because it was on fire and I'm escaping the house, well, I'm going to be a lot of SOL. So, do you have that bag handy where you could get it still if you need to? Do you keep it by your door? Do you keep it in a closet by the front door? I don't know. I can't tell you where you're going to keep those things or what you're going to put in there exactly, but I will leave a checklist in the show notes for things to think about and ideas to think about, things to throw into your bag. I've got some Amazon links on there on some of those that are pretty good, of things that I've purchased myself that I have found to be very viable and reliable and quality products, that I'm just not throwing something out there just for an Amazon link. I really want to be fully trusted. It's got good reviews, and I've maybe used it myself at this point. Some things I haven't. I bought an emergency blanket, haven't tried it, but it had really good reviews. So, and of all the ones, I'd save you some research and having to go look for one yourself, because I find this to be really a good quality product. And that's one thing I'll always go with, buy the best your money can buy. And so if my blanket's, $23, I don't know what it was, I don't remember, and you can only afford $15, then get yourself the $15 blanket. Something's better than nothing. But I think it's just one of those things that's important to have in your kit. So we'll talk about that a little bit more. But as we get back into the state and regional preparedness, I got a little sidetracked there, squirrel moment. This is where the family communications plan really comes into more play. Again, whether you have a GMRS license for all family members, or they're all amateur radio license members, you have a way for you to contact each other and a way to somewhere to meet if you need to. And hopefully you can maybe grab their go bags if need be, and you know where they're at. And you can all join in one place, whether that is the local shelter, it's halfway down your block, maybe it's someone's work, you have to go from one person's work to the other if you can make it there. That may depend on weather as well. One thing I have not done in my emergency bag yet, and that's keep copies of important documents in waterproof pouches. I've got fireproof pouches in my safe, but I don't necessarily have waterproof copies or copies of in a waterproof document, a pouch of some sort. And that's a really good idea of things anywhere from your maybe marriage certificate, a copy of your social security card, something along those lines of important documents that you want to keep that you need to have around. Maybe a certification of some sort, a license of some sort, and I'm not talking you need inches and inches of documentation, but you need at least to have some of those minimal papers of things like your marriage certificate, etc. That might, maybe your vehicle titles. You have a copy of it, so at least you have something to go back and reference. If your vehicle's washed away in a flood, do you know what the VIN number was, etc.? You have that information about that vehicle. It may be important for you to have that. So when it comes down to dealing with insurance stuff, maybe you have a list of guns. Maybe you want to include all your guns in that safety pouch so you know what you had for insurance purposes. And maybe you need to look at radio equipment, all your radio equipment with serial numbers and all the types of models, makes and models on that list. These can be some single sheets of paper that you have in those waterproof pouches. Keeping fuel safely for generators and rotate it regularly. That is most important, is rotating it regularly. It may sound ludicrous and high-end money being spent here, but going and getting the 1 gallon silver can of basically no ethanol fuel from Home Depot or Lowe's, it's a straight fuel that you can run in your small engines, might just be a best way to do that, is to keep that stuff in the can, because your typical ordinary fuel pump fuel, you can put stabilizer in it and it'd probably be good for 30, 60 days. But I don't think I would let it sit there for a year and think about, well, I probably should go replace it this summer because it's been sitting there for a year now, and then pouring it into one of your mowers or something. That stuff has water in it or everything else, and it just doesn't let things run efficiently and completely they burn completely like they should. So I buy just the canned fuel for like my snowblower during the winter. It's a 1 gallon can. You buy it for like $20 some from Home Depot or Lowe's, and that stuff does last in the can for quite a while. So I would maybe suggest something like that for your generator, and it's also a better fuel than what you'll get out of the fuel pump with ethanol and crap combination in it. But again, to each his own. Do the best you can afford. Keep portable power stations or solar generators to run radios, phones, and lights. Do you have a solar panel, but do you have a solar controller to go with it? How is that going to run? What are you going to charge it to? Do you have a battery that it's going to, that you can, let it charge up and use? Excuse me. So something to think about. Those are from the state and regional preparedness levels. And, we will continue more with this National Preparedness Month coming right up after this. Word from ABR Industries right here on the Ham Radio Guy. Can give you for education and information. I really do. Preparedness extends to your vehicle as well. Being stuck in traffic during evacuation. Again, it could be hours on, those people coming out of I-75 in Florida. Or it could be you got stranded in bad weather. Do you have water, snacks, blankets, gloves, warm clothing during the winter? First aid kits, some basic tools, jumper cables. What else are we coming up with? A portable jump starter maybe of some sort. Do you have any mobile radios, GMRS radios, ham or CBs? You might use, something beyond cell coverage. Do you have enough USB chargers or 12-volt inverters? To change things for powers or for phones or radios. Do you have the right type of cables? Does one require micro USB versus a USB-C? Now I'm trying to make everything USB-C across the board, but there's still a few things hanging out there for me that I've got that are micro USB, unfortunately. So I try and carry a couple of those, but I've got just a tech pouch that I've recently put everything together from. It's got a USB-C 110 charger. It's got a little SD drive in there. It's got a portable drive I can use for like 2 terabytes. I've got different types of cables from USB-C. I've got the USB micro. I've got like a lightning charger in there. For maybe someone else has a phone with lightning still. And I think my wife still has a phone with lightning charger on Apple. Um, Maybe you got some of the other, another type of charger in there of some sort. Maybe you have something that's capable of using USB-A versus just USB-C by itself. So I think I've got like a USB-A cable on one end and USB-C on the other, if I need to use that as one of my examples. I've got my AirPods in there. Trying to think what else I've got in that little electronic pouch, but I do carry that with me everywhere I go, and I try not to steal from that if I don't have to. I did put a charger, borrow a charger from that pouch the other day. I've got it sitting here ready to go back, but I just need to make sure it gets put back in there. So, you know, I've got these little mesh bags that I've bought, and I've got the small, medium, large ones, and they're kind of semi see-through, which is kind of cool. And I've got, even in my backpack, which carries all my laptops, it's got like a see-through, pouch, and they're kind of a mesh netting, which are really nice. So they're not necessarily waterproof pouches, but it's got the Write in the Rain notebook in there. I've got a pen in there. I've got another one with my medication in there. I've got one with, some other miscellaneous cables, and so like HDMI, things like that, in case I need that for some reason. But those are, I get those in like a little Cabela's hunting bag, is I keep all those stuff with me when I travel. So I have all the, call it basic necessities. I've got a little CW Keyer. I've got some of the smaller net pouches that have a BNC to an SMA connector. It's got maybe just a barrel connector. It's got the PL259 to a BNC connector. So I carry an assortment of connectors with me when I travel as well, which is nice to have when I travel between Mass and Wisconsin. So those are things I try to keep with me. And I know those aren't necessarily essential to everyday living and survival, but it's what I need with me when I travel, because I don't know what I'm going to end up with. I don't always have everything at both sites, so it becomes a little challenging. So, but usually when I start out, when I'm traveling, I always make sure I have some jerky of some sort. A big thing of mine is Wallabies, the kind of the little like licorice type of stuff. I don't know why I love Wallabies, but the hot cinnamon is so good. I love them. They are great. Just maybe not nutritional, but they are good. But I do like them. And I always try and carry some water with me as well, because primarily I do carry my dog with me as well. So I have 3 to 4 bottles of water with us at least. And when I travel, probably back here in December again, I'll definitely have warm gloves, hat with me, etc. I do carry that in the truck as well. So when you travel, even a short trip, maybe just a day trip somewhere, do you bring at least a flashlight, the first aid kit, portable charger, any type of emergency snacks? And I can answer that question honestly. Yes, I do. I have a flashlight in my truck all times. I also carry one in my backpack, and I keep those things with me. A first aid kit is always in my truck. And I've got 2 trucks now, so there is one in each one. And the portable chargers, well, I was on an ATV trip today. We did about 35 miles through about 40 different farmers' fields. And unfortunately, I did not have a charger for my cell phone with me. So I was unprepared for that. I had to borrow my buddy's to have him charge my phone, because I was using the GPS to track the trail, and started killing my battery. So anyway, I will rectify that situation, and it will get immediately corrected to have a future charger built into the ATV or the side-by-side to have a USB-C A and a USB-A and a USB-C charger port available to the vehicle, as well as cables in there for it, and that will get squared away, in the near future here. As I believe I've got those connectors already. I just got to figure out where I put it exactly to have that charger put in. So talking about communication, not just for phones, but let's talk about a little bit more beyond amateur radio. And I do have a GMRS license, and I think they're great to have as a backup. They also give you more larger access for family members. You have potential repeater access to places. Sometimes other community can use it as well. CB radio can be okay, especially for highway or rural communication. There might be people out there that still use that. But if you really want more regional or long distance emergency communication, amateur radio is the way to go. Again, FRS is short, simple range. GMRS is a little bit longer range with repeater access and more family community use. CB is okay, maybe for highways, but it's a lot of crap on there too. But people may hear you and, pick you up if you need to. And then I said amateur radio is the more longer, regional communication, a little bit wider area, a little bit more broad spectrum to be able to play with and to be able to get out on a signal if you can. The other thing is having a NOAA radio to be able to listen about that severe weather. So that's something to think about as well as another radio communication. It's only one way you're receiving, but at least you'd have some information coming to you in some form. And some of your radios might be able to do that. A lot of the handhelds will pick up that NOAA weather radio as well, or put weather alerts on. So that's a good thing to have in there as a feature. Now, besides just having the ability to have the radios, what about spare batteries, chargers? How can you charge them? Do you have a way to do it like a USB-C charger on, for like a Yaesu or an ICOM radio? A lot of the Radio Oddity, or some of the other manufacturers come out with USB-C built into their batteries now, which is cool. And then again, if you're using a solar panel or generator, do you have, cables to go from those sources into the low power devices like a USB-C to be able to make that change? Something else to think about is emergency contact cards. A small, often overlooked piece of preparedness may be having that emergency contact card, carrying one in your wallet, your vehicle, your go bag, probably having one at each one location. And again, that should have your name, your date of birth, at least 2 emergency contacts with some phone numbers. Something in there with allergies, medications, blood types, always a good thing to have. Maybe a primary doctor or hospital information you can put in your card in your wallet. If you get into a car accident, it's a single car accident, and something happens and they find you there, whether you're alive or dead or, semi-conscious or not, you're not maybe able to fully communicate your information. They might be able to find your wallet, find this information, know how to contact some emergency people if they need to, some contacts that, say, hey, I've got Mr. So-and-so here, and we're headed to, the hospital with him right now for this situation or what's going on. So, it might be good to have. My brother can certainly do that. He's got the emergency contact cards he's done for, ham stuff online. They're great. They're a good hard plastic about the size of a credit card. So they fit in your wallet very nicely. He usually just takes a name and a phone number and he'll put them on there. So you can just have somebody contact. So it doesn't have your personal information on there necessarily, but you could do that on a simple laminated card too. I think laminated cards in your wallet kind of suck personally. They don't ever seem to fit in there just right. And I carry what they consider a Ridge wallet. I probably have I think I got the same Ridge wallet for probably 15 years. So it's still going strong. And so, the one wallet I saw I'd never have to replace again. And as far as I know, I haven't done that. But, it's something that you might want to fit in there a little bit better. So having a laminated card, it doesn't fit in there well. So if you have a wallet like that, maybe if it's a woman's purse, you might be able to fit a laminated card in there a little bit easier. So just something to think about. And again, these cards aren't just for disasters. They're invaluable for these car accidents, a medical emergency, anytime maybe you can't communicate of some sort. So I think it's a really important thing to have. And you go to hamstuffonline.com and you can get those cards more specifically made for you as well. Now, I've talked a lot of stuff here. We're going on to almost close to an hour. This is a long podcast for me, but I want to give you some resources to think about this and some closing thoughts. And before we move into the rest of the podcast, ready.gov, always a very good place to go. Checklist for travel, home safe, travel preparedness, family preparedness. It's got a lot of information there for different types of disasters. ARRL has a great resource for emergency resources. You can go check them out. mygmrs.com. You can find some GMRS repeaters and coverage near you if you're looking for those. Again, your local city and county emergency management office has stuff that will work for your local emergency alerts and shelters and community plans. They'll have all that information. You can usually find that right inside the government county building or city building. And so I would go through and check that stuff out for sure because they do carry some very good information that you may not be able to find locally somewhere else, or you might spend a lot more time trying to find it online on some website versus just going there and picking up a pamphlet or brochure or speaking with someone in the local emergency county level about some more information, and tell them who you are. You're an amateur radio operator and trying to be prepared, be able to help out and be the best in time of citizens, be the best of a citizen in times of disaster. So, hopefully that will help as well. So my main point from this today is preparedness. And it's not just stockpiling gear, maybe 15 packages of toilet paper and 12 packages of paper towels and 25 cans of beans or something. But it's about being methodical in your communication, in your planning, your building your habits, and checking those things out. And checking your home kits, preparing your vehicle for travel, making a plan for your emergency plan for your family, and keeping your radios and power sources ready. So there's a lot that goes into it. It probably become a monthly or a weekly checklist of something that you do every week to prepare and check for those bags. Maybe your Cliff Bars inside your backpack, you've had them there for 3 years. It's probably time to change them out, dude. So, go eat it or throw it away and, or reuse it. It's probably got an expired number on it of some sort. It expired in, probably, April of 24, and you're still, holding on to it 2 years later here beyond that, waiting for a disaster to eat the candy bar or the Cliff Bar. So, those are the type of things I need you to think about and want to wonder, maybe your water bottle is getting a little expired. Go water your plants with it and give yourself a new water bottle or two in that bag. The thing about carrying water like that, it can become very heavy. We do keep the 4 or 5 gallon big water bottles on hand. And so we have that available for us. Not that I'm going to go carry that, but I have it handy and available here at the house if we need it. And so that was always a good thing to, we use. And I have a USB-C pump just a USB pump that is chargeable that I can use to pump the water out of that 4 or 5 gallon container if I need to. And you can buy those usually at your local grocery store. So, but I do keep, big containers of water around just for that purpose. 2 final comments here is remember every layer counts. Your home, your community, your regional, your travel, your statewide, all of that. Again, it's not just a state of mind. It's really a peace of mind knowing that when, stuff hits the fan, that you're able to be prepared and not be one of those caught with your pants down. So take a few minutes this week, assess your gear, assess your plan, maybe create your plan, look at your communication options. When emergency hits, I think you'll thank yourself for being ready. So with that, again, we're an hour into this. I'm going to wrap this up with a few more last minute things here. I want to talk about with just some events that are coming up, but we'll get into that in just a moment, right after this.
Looking for top quality cables that you can trust? ABR Industries has you covered. Proudly American built and reliable, ABR Industries delivers premium coax cable and connectors for all your communication needs. Whether you're a ham radio operator, work in broadcast, or manage critical infrastructure, ABR ensures that you are connected when it matters most.
And it has such tremendously different characteristics.
From static to clarity, ABR products. Built tough, built here, built for you. ABR Industries. American built and reliable. Visit abrind.com today and experience the strength of superior connectivity. It's the only coax here in the W0MET Ham Shack. Use code SAVE10 Ham Radio Guy. ABR Industries, where reliability meets performance.
For events coming up in the near future here, Hamfest, check out your local Hamfest schedule for local Hamfest near you. We are wrapping up towards the end of the year, so there's not going to be a lot of those left. But there is a couple things going on here. I think just today, the 7th through the 16th, is Route 66 is on the air. Churches and chapels are on the air 2025, September 13th. 18 clubs will be activating the Erie Canal for Parks on the Air, September 16th. And the Bochum Space Days, I'm not familiar with that one, is September 19th. So those are some special events that are coming up on the air you might be aware of. Again, just go check out Route 66. It's always a good one. And, that's it for this episode of the Ham Radio Guy. Thanks for tuning in and being part of the conversation. Don't forget to share your thoughts, questions, or stories. Email me or connect over on Twitter or Patreon. If you enjoy the show, leave a review, share it with a fellow ham, and help grow the community. Even if you're enjoying the podcast, consider supporting the podcast over on Patreon. Help support us by keeping the show running and allowing us to bring even more great content. Until next time, 73, happy hamming, keep the antennas high, the signal strong, and I'll catch you on the next episode of the Ham Radio Guy.